Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to reach back 40 years ago to one of my teaching colleagues. Today, he has become a New York State licensed wilderness guide, an internationally known longbow maker, and an instructor of Native American skills. My name is Dacquino. His name is Frank San Marco. Frank, welcome.
Well, Vinny said my name was Frank San Marco. I also carry a second name. Some years ago, I was attending a course by a Native American Cherokee Taino shaman. He taught a course on Native American culture and spirituality, and I got to know him well. After his course, he actually started attending some of my programs. And at one point he said, "Frank, what is your Cherokee name?" And I was somewhat embarrassed because I didn't have one. You know, in the Native American culture, they gave people names not because they were cute or timely or current. They gave you a name that was based on the essence of your character. So David Little Eagle said, "Frank, I would like to give you a name." I said, "David, I would be honored." And David said, "I will call you Wahali Junawi." Wahali Junawi. In the Native American Cherokee language, it meant eagle heart. And for me, it was a very powerful gift because in the Native culture, it was the eagle that flew to the Creator and brought messages from the Creator down to the people on how to live life well. And I was honored that David Little Eagle saw that in my teachings. And for 40 years, I've tried to do all I could to be worthy of that name. You know, our earth is such an incredible place. We wake up each morning, we take it for granted, not recognizing the unique character and specialness of it all. But if you were a timeless space explorer and was flitting around the universe in your spacecraft, looking at all that was, you'd stop at many of the bright spots in the universe, the stars, and as you approached them, you'd see many of them had little planets orbiting. What you would find in almost all cases is that these little planets were not inhabited by life. They were too far from the star, cold, or too close, too hot. And as you flitted around the universe, eventually you might find your way to our special planet. And if you did, when you saw this planet, you'd jam on the brakes and you'd say, "Wow, look at that." Everywhere you can find was teeming with life. From the uppermost regions in the atmosphere to the greatest depth of the ocean, from the cracks in the sidewalk. This place was teeming with life, a special event in the universe. 50,000 years ago, or thereabouts, modern man, Homo sapiens, made his first appearance on our planet. Back then, he lived intimately with the earth. He lived as freely as the coyote or the deer, the fox, the bear. This was his home. And everything he needed to sustain his life, he took directly from the earth. But over time, things changed. Man was blessed with an incredible intellect, a hand with 5 fingers, one of which was an opposable thumb, gave him the ability to take his ideas and create from them. And he created a unique world within the natural world. But as time went on, his separation began. The soles on his feet, his shoes became thicker. He could no longer feel the caress of the gentle moss and earth as he walked the forest. His clothing became thicker and isolated him from the gentle breeze. The walls of his lodges thickened. He became a stranger to the gentle winds, the sweet smells of the wildflowers. And as civilization progressed, his separation led him to become a stranger from this incredible earth. The Native Americans, they clung to their original connection. They chose not to follow the course of normal civilization, develop a culture of technology. It wasn't because of their inferior intellect. It was because they knew the great power of their connection. I have spent much of my life living intimately with the earth, teaching myself the skills to live and survive. And they're not skills that were designed to make me a Rambo creature, one who could fight the elements and win. But they were skills that allowed me to live in quiet harmony with the earth. A gentle living, connected to the earth, very much like the Native Americans were. My education was not through formal channels of living or working intimately with the native culture, but my instructor was the same. It was the earth, and living and spending time with it. The Native Americans, they lived intimately with the earth. They knew it well. They knew where to find foods, how to make shelter, how to make tools, the plants that would give them medicines to heal themselves. And they knew that the earth was a sacred place. They saw the complexity of the web of life that fed each other and gave gifts to each other. They were highly spiritual people. They knew that such an incredible system could not be chance. There had to be some incredible source of power that created this magnificent system of life. All indigenous people who live close to the earth believe that there is something more powerful that created this system. Each culture gave Creator their own name. For me, it's Jesus Christ. I was born in a time where I came to know Him as my Creator. But whatever name they gave Him, they knew there was something more powerful than themselves. They called Earth Mother Earth, Earth Mother, because like a mother, a loving mother, she provided them with everything they needed. When they were hungry, she fed them. When they were sick, she gave them the medicines to make them well again. When they were cold, she gave them fire. She gave them clothing. She gave them all that that they needed. They loved the Earth Mother, and they loved Creator. Let me pose a reflective question. If I were to ask, of all things that you can imagine, what is the dearest and most important to you? And the answers that I typically get are answers you might expect. A mother might say, well, it's my children, or my husband. The child might say, no, it's my little special puppy. But if you thought long, hard, and deep, the one answer that would resonate from all would be life. Nothing greater or more important than life. The Native Americans knew that, and they lived their life daily with an incredible reverence and love for life. They were a spiritual people. They prayed a lot, not in the standard form where they dropped to their knees and fold their hands, but their prayers came throughout all the things they did in daily life. If they were walking through the fields of blueberries and they were gathering the sweet fruit, as they would gather it, they would say in their heart to Creator, thank you for the food that will nourish me. And the prayer wasn't a spoken word, it was a thought that came from the heart. Life to them was sacred. It didn't matter what kind of life. All things were sacred. And unlike today's society, man is considered the most important and significant of all life. The Native Americans looked at things very differently. They considered all life equal. And I have to admit, it was years in wandering the wilderness, mostly alone, when I came to fully understand how they could look at things that way. Everything in this incredible web of life interacts in some way. Like a giant spider web, you tweak one little thread and it affects everything else. In this great web of life, all things gave to each other. All things wanted to live. The great oak, though it had no conscious mind, wants to live. It reaches its branches up into the sky and gathers the sunlight through its leaves, stores that energy to take all that it gathers to build its own life form. It reaches down into the depths of the soil to drink the water and soak up the minerals so that it can carry on its incredible metabolistic properties of life. And it does more than live for itself. It has gifts to us all. As I sit here, every breath I exhale is filled with a waste gas from my metabolic processes. Carbon dioxide, I don't need it, goes off into the air. But the trees, the green plants, that feeds them. That's their food. And through the incredible process of what we know today as photosynthesis, by harnessing the sun's energy, combining with the minerals they soak up from the soil, and the carbon dioxide, they build molecular things that create life for them. And just as we exhale carbon dioxide, one of the waste materials of their metabolism is oxygen. So as I sit here, every breath that I take is a gift from the oaks, the maples, the grasses, the algae of the sea. All gifts from Earth Mother. We give freely back and forth to each other. There's so much that we don't understand about the interactions in this great web of life. Some are obvious, some not so obvious. Usually, when I take my groups off into the mountains, we canoe across a few lakes, we set up a base camp, and there I teach the wilderness skills, survival skills, to make them comfortable and to understand that everything they need for life is right there. I often teach not by telling people direct facts or information. One of the ways I prefer to teach in the wilderness is by a method the Native Americans used. It's called coyote teaching. And in that type of teaching, rather than feed them information, I tell them stories, like the Native Americans would do. And in my storytelling, I usually talk about Little Bear, young Native American, just 8 or 9 years old, and his grandfather. How special his grandfather was to him. For in his younger days, grandfather, he was a mighty warrior of the tribe. He knew all the skills to live well. He taught Little Bear how to hunt, how to fish. He taught Little Bear how to find the medicines that would heal him. Little Bear loved him and hung on to every word grandfather spoke unto him. One day they were sitting by a stream with their twisted lines of sinew attached to a bone hook, wired with a worm from the earth. And as they were sitting there, a mosquito landed on Little Bear's leg. And Little Bear goes, "Aha, grandfather, look." And grandfather looked at Little Bear and said, Little Bear, I see. Little Bear, you come with me. And grandfather walked up the stream until the stream had branched off into a small area, a flat area with just 3 or 4 inches of water covering it. And grandfather stood alongside of Little Bear and said, "Little Bear, you look into the water." And Little Bear looked into the water and, "Grandfather, I see nothing." "No, Little Bear. No, you look." And Little Bear looked, and minutes went by. Little Bear said, "Father, grandfather, I still see nothing." You watch. Finally, Little Bear saw these little teeny things flitting around in the water. They were the little teeny larvae, the immature mosquitoes. And Little Bear said, "Grandfather, now I see." And grandfather said, "That is good. Now you look more." Little Bear watched and watched and saw nothing more than the little things flitting around. Grandfather said, "No, you look." Several minutes later, Little Bear said, "I see, Grandfather." And he watched a little teeny fish swim and eat one of the little teeny creatures of the water. He says, "Ah, I see, Grandfather." Grandfather says, "No, you look more." And he looked, and finally, he saw a larger fish come and eat the little fish. And Little Bear sat up, said, "Grandfather, now I see." And he understood that the fish that they were trying to catch before, that would be food for them and give them the gift of life, could not be if it were not for the little larvae of the mosquito. That mosquito that landed on Little Bear's leg, it was a female mosquito looking for one tiny drop of blood so she could feed all of her little children that would then work their way up to be the very fish that they would catch and feed themselves. The connections between all life are powerful. The more time you spend in the wilderness and sit quietly and watch, the more you will come to know the incredible power of this web of life that Creator gave us. This mother we call Earth Mother that will feed us, clothe us, give us all we need. Our needs have not changed, but today we don't gather directly from the earth. We fail to see the incredible connection that exists between all things. We take our food from the stores, buy our materials from the hardware stores, our medicines from the pharmacy. But it all comes from the earth. It's strange that we name things in ways that protect us from seeing the true source of things. It is a fact that in order for things to live, other things must die. It is neither good nor bad, it is the way it is. Things must die for other things to live. Whether it be the fly that the frog eats, or the plants that die and decay and feed the trees that live. Things must die in order that other things must live. I am a hunter, and I kill deer. I take no joy and pride in it, but I am connected to the earth. I became an educator for New York State to teach bow hunting. I'm a state certified bow hunting instructor. I became an instructor because I wanted people to enter the forest with a respect and reverence for what they did. To understand that they're asking for one of Creator's most magnificent creatures to lay down its life for them. It must be taken with reverence and respect. In my classes, I teach people how to use all of the animal, from its brains, to its eyes, to its hooves, to its sinew, to its meat, to its skin, to its fur. to honor the sacred animal. It is not bad. It is the way it is. But it must be done with reverence and respect. It is that way which we must move through life, to honor and respect the sacred gift of life that Creator has given us. My hope is that many more will go into the woods and just sit quietly and watch the spectacle of life unfold before you. You will come to understand what Creator has given us, who you are, and how you fit into this magnificent scheme of life. I wish that for all of you. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that Vinny has given me to present this to you. Thank you, Vinny.
Frank, I cannot thank you enough for the wonderful journey that you took us on today. You have touched the hearts and souls of many children and adults. You're right, Frank. We don't live on this earth alone. Some things need to be. One is respect for our Mother Earth. Thank you for joining us today on this magnificent journey. When you walk out and you see the wilderness, think that you are a very small part of a wonderful thing called life. Frank, thank you so much for being here. It has been our pleasure, our honor to share with you. Continue doing what you do. Continue helping us to respect the life we live in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of One-on-One with Frank San Marco.